Well, a special good afternoon to one and all. Thank you so very much for waiting and for being there just to make sure that you're in on whatever we will be discussing today. I can assure you that every information that we attempt to bring your way has everything to do with those of you who might have failed or faltered in some way with as far as information is concerned. And oh boy, no. It's in my ears, so I have to make an adjustment. Yeah, okay. Let's try this again. Good afternoon to one and all, and thank you so very much for joining us on Viewpoint. All right, I'm here to talk about a few things that we often probably don't worry about too much, or we don't think it's important. As long as you have life in your body and things are going well, it's often, yeah, okay, everything else will work itself out. And then you reach to a point where you only wish that things were better organized to the point where you wouldn't have to be worrying about too many things that has now become important, all because maybe a member of your family passed, or you have siblings and other relatives who are next of kin when it comes to property and all kinds of stuff. You didn't plan that, right? But we never planned that. So when it does happen, you need to know that everything else is organized. Well, for those of you who might find yourself in that category, there will be an awareness session presented at the University of St.Maarten. And here with me is the representatives, those persons who will be passing this information on. So I would advise you to listen carefully. No, it's not politics. I know that's where you're most comfortable, but no, this is just as important. So I do have with me Sherma Furton, who is a long-time associate, a very good friend of mine, and it's nice to see her. But she's also joined by Barbara Pompier, who is the manager at the institution that will be providing the information on that important session at the University of St.Maarten. That can be on June 11th, so that's right around the corner. So with that said, I think I was able to gain your attention as far as what will be talked about today. With that said, let me say a special good afternoon to Sherma.
Good afternoon, Wendell. Good afternoon, radio listeners.
And also to Barbara Pompier.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to you, Wendell.
Thanks for wearing a smile, because you forced me to smile. I'm usually very serious, you know.
No, smiling is healthy. It makes everybody feel better.
Yeah.
And, they say that there's nothing, especially if you're talking to people and you're not seeing them, you need to smile, and they too I hope they will feel my smile today. Yeah. So thanks for having us.
It is radiant, man. It's going through the very network that we're using for all the new technology that is being used. Sherma, how you doing?
I'm great. Thankful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yeah.
Just great?
I'm great. I feel blessed.
Okay.
I'm thankful for life.
Okay. I tried best I could based on the information that was fed to me earlier when this booking was done. Mm-hmm. That it has a lot to do with what I just talked about. Families can get things organized. I guess it all has to do with insurance as well as notaries and all those things come into play when it comes to property. What can you lay out for us in terms of the information?
Well, we
that
are excited because we do life insurance. In particular, we do some general insurance as well, but we have many clients who purchase life insurance.
Come a little closer to the microphone.
A little closer?
Yeah. Just push your book to the right.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have many clients who purchase life products from us. The thing is that when you purchase an insurance, you don't really know when you're going to need those proceeds. You know that it's going to be free when you die. But how does a family deal with all of that? What investments should they make? How can they protect it? So it's not only about us talking about the importance of insurance, but it's also talking about maybe in particular we are having some representatives from our central bank who will be guiding us through why we need, for example, to do certain documentation. most clients today are sometimes reluctant. Why you need all of these questions? Why you need all this information? Why do I have to provide a proof of address? Why do I have to provide sometimes a proof of income depending on your status, of course? And this seminar, we've asked the central bank to join us so that they can explain also why some of these things are important, why we need identification, why we need a proper address. Because as you know, um, money laundering is so important. It is one of the most important things dealing with financial products. So people are this is an area where we are not really informed sufficiently. So we thought it was would be helpful for the community to come and listen to that aspect of it. In addition, we are having a guest speaker also from the consultancy firm Taxa. Taxa is a consultancy firm that offers tax advice. So they will be joining us, and they particularly will be looking at how can you protect your proceeds? In fact, how can you protect your assets? For future, because what you want with insurance is you want it to last. You don't want to pay a claim and it disappears. You want to know that if it is to protect your children or even to protect a spouse, that this money will be there for the future, and not you let's say you pay out a policy for 100,000, 500,000, and then tomorrow there is no money. You want to be assured, and that is where how do we invest our money? Where do we place our money? So Taxa will be looking at the estate planning aspect of it, because that is planning for the estate. And so we are excited. We are excited to share that type of information.
No notaries going to be involved there?
Not this time.
Okay.
The last time we had a notary, not this time.
Okay, so these are going to involve, this is going to involve three entities: the central bank, which play a role of supervising
Right.
insurance companies and financial
Brokers.
institutions.
That's right.
And then you have tax advice that is also going to be making a
Yes.
presentation.
And that is
And of course, the insurance company.
yes. The having people be aware of what can be done with insurance proceeds is extremely important. Another segment that we will be covering is what we call personal accident. You ever were driving down the road and one of these scooters passed you on one side or the other, and then you saw an accident happening right in front of your face,
Yeah.
and then there's no getting away, and then the people on the scooter don't have insurance, and you probably didn't have an insurance that protects you for a permanent disability or whatever. And we've seen so many people walking around in St. Maarten recently that have lost a limb, or that have lost some part of their body, or some part of their body is affected because of a stupid accident. And most of the time, those little accidents are people who are not insured. But if you have your own personal accident policy, those are benefits that are payable to you, whether you're lying in a hospital, whether you have a permanent disability, whether you have a temporary disability. Those are all features that are covered under these plans.
Okay. So this session is, of course, to bring awareness to all
Yes.
the intricacies that
Yes.
can be involved as far as all this is concerned.
Yes.
Sherma, because you played the role as an agent, sometimes when you go to bring this information, what kind of response you get from people, whether they are interested or not interested, they don't think it's important? What are some of the things that you find out in the community as you deal with people along this line?
Having been in the insurance industry for, I would say, 27 years, the reaction and the responses that you get is that there is a very large need for insurance, but the affordability is not always there.
Oh, affordability is an issue.
Affordability is an issue where that is concerned. People are under the notion that, oh yeah, it's just insurance, but me as an agent is not just an insurance agent. We are financial advisors.
Yes, yes.
So we ask a lot of key questions to determine, is that person able to afford insurance? Because we all know what the cost of living is like on the island, and one of the things that I've gotten to find out in being in the industry for that long is that I would say about 70% of the population live above their means, which means they don't prioritize and they don't budget. Because when we do a financial breakdown with certain persons, is only when you reach to the end of your breakdown, then sometimes they themselves realize like, oh man, like what am I really doing? So you have a lot of people who live what I say hand to mouth. So like because I know this month I can carry over that bill to next month, then I will leave it. So I'll pay for this one, and then next one I will cover this one. So we don't, and it's something that we as insurance agents need to bring across to those people. And I think in that session that we're gonna be having, it's very important to let people realize that's what it is. The need for insurance. We all have a need for it, but the affordability is not there, and it's something that we need to find time to create in our day-to-day life.
I tend to disagree just a little bit. We have so many different products in insurance, and there are products that are affordable. So, for example, if you take a term insurance, it's very affordable, but if you don't have the discipline to pay it, it will lapse. It will discontinue. So it all depends on the priority that we put on these things.
That's hence the reason for the question.
Yes.
Because these people who are making the decision to insure themselves where they were not insured, they have to determine whether or not it's important versus not being insured.
Exactly.
So in her expression or in her experiences dealing with these people, there's some of the things, because some people don't think they need insurance.
They don't prioritize, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. It is it is about caring about your loved ones. It is about a continuity of life, of income. For example, insurance is just a replacement of income. If you have people that depend on you, insurance replaces that income. If you died, your income dies with you. But the people who you were responsible for are still there. In particular, if you have young children. If you have young children and they are still in school, you have the responsibility to take care of those kids and to have a provision that is there. And one of the provisions is insurance. I'm not saying it's the only one, because maybe you have apartments, you have buildings, but most people early in their lives don't have that. So then you need something like insurance to be able to say, well, if something happens to me, which it can happen to all of us, my family is stabilized, my family is protected because I cared about my family. And I think all of us care about our families.
Yeah, okay. What about speaking to somebody who think, while I'm alive, why do I need a life insurance?
Why?
Incremental insurance for a period of time, they can understand that. If you're going to travel, you can take out an insurance for the travel should anything happen. But you're making a one-time payment. And hence I wanted to know, when you go out there and meet people, maybe that's why this session is important. How do they make priorities when in fact, when you look at your income overall, you'll just tell yourself, I would like to have it, but I can't afford it.
You want to tackle that one, Sherma?
Wendell, I always tell my people that I sit with, insurance comes from two sources: you at work and your money at work. There's a third one, which is charity, and nobody wants to be on charity. So when you at work is no longer an option, it would be your money that you worked for that's going to work for you. If you have apartments, you have investments or whatever it is, there's something called natural disaster that can dissolve all of those things.
In no time,
What
one day.
happens exactly? What happens then? We cannot predict the future. We can only plan for it. So that is where insurance, they have different forms of insurance a person can invest in. We determine your need.
Right.
what is it that you really need, and then we can put together a plan for you.
Hmm.
And then we go from there.
Not what you want, what you really need.
Hmm. Yeah, but people are selfish, and they reach to a point where they say, I'm alive. Why do I need to be paying an extra amount of money for insurance? When I die, they don't worry about who benefits.
I die, my family gonna see for themselves. Yeah, my wife, yeah, I didn't do for them already. Yeah, my children are grown. We get that all the time. And those oftentimes are what we consider to be objections. It's because maybe your approach wasn't correct,
Yeah.
Right.
or you didn't win the person over. Trying to get somebody to invest in insurance, for me, is just a conversation.
Okay.
Because you're going to get a lot of objections as to why they don't need it. Oftentimes, that person can't afford it because they may be thinking that insurance costs an arm and a leg. But one of my things that I always tell people is better to have a little something in place than nothing at all. Because we don't know when death is going to knock on our door. We don't know when we're going to encounter a permanent disability that can come through sickness or accident. We just don't know what course life is going to take us on. Tomorrow we full up. We get a natural disaster, our account is, good at press. We encounter some kind of natural disaster, and guess what? Everybody's account is going to drop. That account that is so lavish, it's going to diminish. How do you replenish it? And then we realize age catches up on us, sickness comes into effect, where I would tell you St.Maarten have the highest rate in the Caribbean of high blood pressure and diabetes. Even cholesterol is becoming, and cholesterol is an instant no-no. If the insurance tell you no, you cannot get because your cholesterol is not well balanced, there are other products that you can get that can guarantee you an income at long term.
So you're saying if
some
you're at
people-
risk in some places, you
that-
don't
that-
qualify?
You may
with
not.
certain products,
You may qualify, but sometimes
they
against
will
a higher
increase
premium
your premium.
Oh, okay.
because you have a
Yeah.
higher risk.
Selling insurance for us and making an investment is also based on a person's affordability.
Okay.
So not everybody can afford a $200 a month, $150 a month. How much can you comfortably afford? Based on that, I will tell you, okay, then you can put a little something in place for that with the intention of increasing later down when life changes for you. You always have that ability.
So those are options you're
Those
saying
are options that
are
people
available.
have. Yeah.
But I have a
Those are
question
options that
for
we
I have
have.
a question for you, Randall. You have a vehicle?
Yes, I do.
Do you have it insured?
Yes, it is.
Did anybody pressure you into insuring it?
No, but the law says it should be insured.
Exactly. When we have a home and a mortgage, the banks tell us it must be insured. The motor vehicle, the government tells us it must be insured. When it comes to a life insurance, our families don't tell us that. It's something that has to be in you. It has to be something that we teach you, something that you talk about for you to see why that part is even more important. Because if I ask you if the bank is more important to you than your family, you would probably tell me no. If I ask you the government is more important than your family, you would probably tell me no. But you abide by the law because it's there. You abide by the rules. But there, for some reason, we don't see our families as being so important. Or even ourselves, because part of insurance is also for yourself. Because, for example, if you are working and you are working in the private sector, most likely you don't have a pension plan. Most likely you don't. Doing a pension plan is part of your own responsibility towards retirement. Some people seem to think that having an AOV pension is all that I need. It is far from what you need. Very, very far. You need to supplement it yourself. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you have an employer who will help you. But whose responsibility is it? It's yours. Because you know that if today you are earning $5,000 a month and you do not have a retirement policy in place, how will you survive? Will you go back down to 1,400 or 1,500 by the time you're ready for retirement? You can't. So it's a responsible it's a position of responsibility that you make when you decide, hey, I need to provide for my future as well. So life insurance is in that same category because we go through life in phases. We have the phase where we are young and we have our kids, and then as our kids get bigger, they start to leave our nest. But in every phase, there is some responsibility. There is some accountability. If you are older and you are married, it's just you and your spouse. But if you are not there, your spouse has a problem if you didn't provide for her. And you cannot say, oh, but we have a house. Who's going to fix the house? Who's going to change the fridge? You cannot change it from your AOV. You cannot do it. You must have made some other provisions over time that will help your family. So those are some of the things that we like to talk about, and it is so important that we talk about those things.
So what is the downfall then? Why you think it's necessary to have these sessions for the general public to, well, hopefully be interested in, especially when they have formulated their own in their own way? That's really not important.
I believe that more people today than before realize that it is important. I honestly believe that. I think there is a threshold of coming. I think there is a threshold of maybe sitting with someone. But more and more, I think people are trying to get some more information. I think the biggest hurdle is the younger age groups.
Okay.
Because most people, when you reach in your mid-30s, you're already figuring it out. Listen, I gotta get myself protected. I gotta take care of my kids. But the younger we start with insurance, my youngest client ever was around 18 or 19. And I could not believe how mature that particular client was. And at that time, that client, for example, bought an endowment. I didn't expect that they would keep it, but they did. But when you are so young and you started, guess what happens? Your premiums are negligible. You have such low premiums, you can afford it. But
When you're young. Yeah.
And as we get older, of course, the premiums get higher. Why? Because the risk for the insurance company gets higher. You're closer. You might be closer to death. So automatically your premiums.
So who do you really want to attract to these sessions?
Everybody. We would attract.
Everybody? When you say that it's better for young people?
No. I say everybody because it's never too late. It's never too late to do something. The only people we are struggling with now is maybe if you're past age 70. Even up to 70, we still have products that people can purchase. Usually if you're past 70, we can still do certain things with certain, because we work with several companies, and there are companies who are willing, but again, it's against a higher premium, and most people would tell you, I can't afford it anymore. Then they will tell you that.
So they can be
Interesting.
easily left out of the picture.
Can be.
70 or more.
If they can, but we still try. We still try our best to see what can be done. And sometimes
Do you become skeptical when someone walks into you at a ripe age of, let's say, 65, 70? Do you require them to take a physical or something like that? Because it's like he come in, he want to be covered by this, by that. Is something up?
actually, for most companies, a medical is required the moment you reach 60.
Okay.
Automatically, you have to do a medical, depending on the type of policy. There are policies that sell, for example, burial plans that may probably have just a questionnaire, but it all depends on what comes up in that questionnaire. Some years ago, we had a potential client who came in to buy a similar plan, but the person was already sick and in the hospital, but they didn't say the truth.
Okay.
So we depend on people telling us the truth. And 2 weeks later, the client died. And then they came in to claim. But they didn't tell us that the person was already dying in the hospital. So now you figure it out. So of course it was something that we had to say no to.
Yeah.
But so if whatever it is, you have to be truthful with insurance. The truth is always better than not saying the truth.
So what role the central bank bank plays here as far as the interests of those persons who are showing interest in wanting to get more information about your insurance company? What can they say that would be important to
Well,
interested persons?
I don't think the central bank's role is in the supervision of brokers as well as insurance companies. And one of the things that the central bank will be doing is clarifying why there is a need for certain types of documentation. You know, formerly, when I first started in insurance, you didn't even need an ID to purchase insurance. You didn't need a proof of address. You didn't need anything except you ready to start the insurance? You just sign there. And then we started taking IDs, and then it moved to having proof of address. Then sometimes even have maybe a job letter or whatever. The central bank comes in because not every client is like you or like Sherma. For example, you might have clients that are politically exposed, and we have to make sure that those are recorded as well. But people need to understand that. So it's not that you can't get insurance, but we have to have it recorded. So because of their supervision, we like to have them because it helps to clarify for the general public why insurance companies and brokers ask for certain documentation. We're not asking for it because we really want it. We're asking it because we are obliged by our regulators to have this documentation on file.
Okay, that's as far as central bank.
I
Sharma,
think
why
it
don't you
has
just
a lot to do with compliance purposes. So whether compliance, the technicalities of why, because then you have auditors coming into the different insurance companies. Again, an insurance company is not just that. It is a financial institution as well. You can't go to the bank to open an account and the bank don't require a proof of address from you. You have to provide a proof of address as well as a job letter. And the banks are financial institutions. So when the central bank come or the auditors come in to do their auditing with the various financial institutions, they ask for those kind of documents, regulators, like where did you get, how is this person registered on the island? Where does this person live and stuff like that?
Okay.
So I think it's just part of the central bank coming in, just have to do with a lot of the compliance part.
provide some
Yeah.
assurance
Exactly.
that what
as to
the
why
insurance companies are doing
those things
is
are
legitimate.
required. Yeah.
All right, let me take a break because I'm at that point at this moment. Folks, my guest here today is bringing some information across to the general public concerning insurances, and that there would be an awareness session for those of you who, whether you're skeptical or you need more information or whatever it is regarding insurance, you can go to the session that would be at the University of St.Maarten on June 11th. What time would that be?
It starts at 5:30.
5:30 in the afternoon. Okay, we'll talk some more about that, but let me take a break first. When we come back, we'll continue. Who is managing an insurance company that is responsible for a awareness session that is scheduled for June 11th at the University of St. Maarten. Anything you want to know about insurance? By the way, would people be free to ask questions
Of course.
on the time of the session?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to know because
Of course.
that's one of the things that I believe. Just come a little closer to the microphone. Yeah. That's one of the things that I'm sure if they're not shy, because some people don't even want to ask questions
They would
sometimes.
rather ask the person sitting next to them as opposed to putting up their hand and
Yeah.
asking direct questions.
But
And
you need
that's-
to.
Knowledge is freedom.
Yeah.
You
But the
know.
thing is, though, and I want you to probably create some scenarios why this is not only important, but it would steer people away from not thinking that it should be part of your planning when it comes to having yourself insured. A scenario like, for sure, you talked about that in the break. Some people are not even talking about how they're going to be buried when they pass. And then all of a sudden, it happens because it will happen. And is that something that your insurance company provide? burial insurance?
Yes, we do have, we represent several companies that provide that type of coverage. But it, again, just like everything else, is discipline. It's discipline. You need to know. Shama said earlier that, some people don't care how they are buried, but most of us do care. I always go from the point perspective that people do care, but sometimes we get a little lost along the way, and it's just like with everything else. Sometimes we get a little lost in what our priorities are or what our priorities should be, and that's where financial planning does come in, because we should care. We shouldn't leave it to government. We shouldn't leave it to GoFundMe pages. We do a lot of that nowadays. Even in St. Maarten,
Yeah.
we try to raise funds when people die. But we should be mindful that it is our responsibility. It. I am so happy when I see a client comes in, and even a more senior client, and I'm talking people in sometimes in their late 60s and sometimes even early 70s, and they are desirous of just ensuring that they're not leaving their kids with debts. They do not want to leave a debt. So they are making sure that there is some bit of insurance there. So now, if the parents are thinking like that, shouldn't also the children be thinking, we don't want to leave a debt for our children? Because many of them also have children. So it is actually for everyone. It's a concern for everyone. It's a concern even for government, because when people don't do it, then government sometimes have to step in. And like Shama said, sometimes people's remain in a morgue for sometimes more than 2 months, just because there is no money, there is nobody to bury them.
But
And
the
that's
longer they
sad.
stay in the morgue, they don't have to pay for those times too.
Well, some government sometimes
At
steps
some point,
in.
government have to step in because
Government
nobody,
sometimes steps in.
no family member comes to claim the body.
Oh, like that.
So yeah,
But I think the elephant in the room here, though, is the affordability. Because if people can't afford it, and a lot of it has to do with how much people are still living on minimum wage. And if you have to try to survive with all the expenses that are out there versus finding room to have a consistent insurance policy having you covered, you'll probably make a decision, the wrong one, but a decision nonetheless,
Well,
that
sorry.
insurance now.
I think affordability. I'm gonna say it again, and it is based on my years of experience. Affordability comes with prioritizing. We do not prioritize on this island. We look at wants as opposed to needs. We don't consider necessities, we consider wants. Why would I buy a new vehicle because my neighbor have a new vehicle and she's also renting?
Do you really need it?
Do you
That's
need
the big
it?
question.
Exactly. My neighbor has 3 children. She buy a new vehicle, and I got only one. I can buy a new vehicle too, but my neighbor is in a better position work-wise. Her income is better than yours. I don't know what she did. You understand?
So we
And
shouldn't be
that's-
looking in that direction.
Exactly. And that is one of the things that you see it a lot. I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but when I sit with you, you're the one who's going to feel embarrassed. In the insurance industry, you sit with people, you try to do a financial breakdown with them, and they will lie about your income. In the insurance industry, we learn and we get the information that we need as to that person who's in that type of employment, what is their average income. So we are aware. So when you tell me I don't pay rent, I don't pay this, I don't pay school fees, I don't pay da 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 da, and I go home with $5,000, we can always look back and like have a conversation, not to directly tell you, I don't think you're telling me the truth,
Yeah.
because we're gonna come around and I'm gonna ask you, what is your mortgage payment? And then you just told me that you don't rent,
But you have
but
a
paying a
mortgage.
mortgage.
Yeah.
You understand? So there are ways that you can go about finding
Yeah.
out certain information and then to advise that person. Because you can start with, how about 50 guilders? Can you afford 50 guilders on a term policy? In 10 years' time, you convert it where your financial status is a bit better.
But that's the role that you play, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a job of the insurance advisor. But I wanted to make a little bit a small point here also. Who should have insurance? You know, it's like there's a category that we overlook a little
I
bit.
think that would
You know,
be
there's a
information for
category-
each and ears.
Yes,
Who should
Okay,
really
I want to start by the individual who has a responsibility. All right? They should definitely have insurance. And I think we touched that just now a little bit. We're talking about the younger people, the more senior people, the more middle-aged people. But there is also the category of business people, businesses. Because many people, you might not know, but many people are covered under an insurance on their job. Some people think that that's all the insurance that they need, but it's not. So, for example, if you work here at PJD2 and they have a group plan and you are covered for a life insurance under your plan, you might think, oh, I have a life insurance already through my employer.
Yes.
But you only have that life insurance while you
you're
are
here.
at that employer.
Yeah.
And when you move away from that employer, it's gone.
Oh, yeah, so that would be a
Yes.
loss as far as that person is
But most of
concerned.
the time, it is not a loss because
You
most
have
of
a
the time
small window to take it over on your own.
you can.
The payment will be more because it's going to be on you,
Yeah.
but you can maintain the same amount value of the insurance.
Okay.
How many people are willing to do that?
Most people drop it. Most people drop it.
Yeah.
The point of that example is that the insurance is actually an insurance related to your job. As long as you are employed there, most of the time even your employer pays it in full. Sometimes whatever you're paying is minimal. The
Yeah.
thing is that it's not enough. But if you are a business owner, and you're working and there is no insurance and one of your staff dies, where do you think they're going first to try to get some money?
To the employer.
To the employer.
Yes, correct.
So which means that it benefits every employer to
To have-
also have a group policy that covers their employees and themselves.
Yeah.
So that you can avoid, and you know that is for the beneficiary of your employee, but you want to know that your people are covered because it is difficult to have to say, well, okay, here's $10,000 or here's $15,000, because don't think because the employees are struggling, some employers aren't also struggling. Employers are also struggling. They also have to manage salaries and rents and all of the and government payments. So everybody has their commitments, but everybody, once you have that commitment, you also see why it's important to have insurance in place. And then gradually people can talk to their employers about possibly looking at pension plans, looking at other places where it will be a contribution by both themselves as well as the employer, because those are the ideal plans to have. But you need to get employees interested and you need to get employers interested. And most of those payments are usually tax deductible. Those payments are usually tax deductible. And it's a benefit for the employer as well as the employee. So a lot can be done.
Yeah, I could imagine. And you're speaking on behalf of why it's important, because as far as your business is concerned, it has everything to do with insurance. But there are people out there who they don't even think it's even important to talk about it, much less to be involved in it, unless they are informed of certain things, which hopefully your session that you're having would provide some of the alternatives and the reasons why they should probably be involved. But I know there are people who they write off insurance companies, don't want anything to do with it.
When I first joined the industry, there was a lot of negativism about insurance companies. And over the years, I have seen that changed a lot. Why? Because of insurance companies' promise to pay claims. And I have seen many claims being paid. Many. I have seen cases where sometimes you weren't even sure that a policy was in place, was being paid for. Sometimes people get sick and they were not aware that they had cash values on policies that sustained those policies still over the years. And when the families came in, there was still a policy because they had a policy that had value in it. So the worst case scenario is insurance companies would say, well, you had a policy loan, we will deduct the policy loan, but you know what? That 200,000, the rest of it is yours, is the family's. So it's better to have something than to have nothing, as what Sherma just said. But I want to say this: who should consider it? Anybody. Anybody whose death might have a financial consequence for someone else. If your death would have a financial consequence to anybody else, you need to consider life insurance. It is so important. All right, and you need to consider, and later in age, you need to consider a pension plan because you need a continuous income, because that's what a pension plan does. It makes sure that you have an income, not for today, but for life. As long as your eyes are open, your pension check is coming to you. Is that what most of us would want? I think so. I think most of us want to know that if we reach 65 or 67, what the new pension age might be, that there is a check coming to us every month without us having to go out there and sweat and stand in lines and sell things and do all of those other things. You want to know that there is an income coming to you.
Can you maybe clarify something here? Because on occasion you would make reference to working with companies. You are more from an agency than you are from any particular insurance company?
No, we work as a brokerage. We work with several insurance companies. We work with Pan American Life. We work with Nagico. We work with Enya. We work with Guardian. But we also work with, for the general part, we look at ICWI. We work at Nagico General as well. We work with Caribbean Alliance. We work with Gulf. We work with all of the major insurance companies that are represented in St. Maarten. We have an affiliation with them. All. We are what we would call a brokerage.
Okay.
But we have a main contract also with Pan American Life, and we also, a lot of our life insurances are done through Pan American Life, but we do it with other companies as well. So if you come and you say, look, I ain't want nothing to do with Pan American Life, we can sell you Nagico. If you say we don't want to do it Nagico, we can sell you Enya. So sometimes the client has a preference, and we can't deny. But it is our job to look and find what is the best possible solution for this client. That is our job.
But it only is associated with life insurance. You're saying?
No,
General
general
insurance.
as well.
General.
Yeah, so we could
Which
do
in-
your car too.
Or a car.
Yes, you
Okay.
could do your house. You could do anything. We can do anything.
Okay.
But this session is not going to be about general. This session is mostly going to be about life. So the next session, when we come back, we'll talk about general.
Okay. So this is more concerning life insurance
Life insurance
that you will be having on
and
June
personal
11th.
accident, yes.
And personal accident has a lot to do with
Accidental
Life,
death and dismemberment
you could be disabled as a result.
of an accident.
It
And
has
that
to-
could be covered.
We have products like critical illness. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but critical illness is a product that offers you coverage. Is what we call a living benefit product, and this offers you coverage should you get any major disease like a heart attack, like a stroke, like Alzheimer's, like any one of those major illnesses. If you get any renal failure, you get one of those illnesses. Critical illness, the critical illness plan kick in to pay you lump sums where you can then get the care that you need, because sometimes you don't recover, but you can get the care, you can afford to pay for the care that you need. There is also, besides the critical illness, there's a cancer policy. Oh, that's a good one. We have a policy where persons, once you are diagnosed with cancer, a lump sum is paid. A lump sum that you can decide what you're going to do with it.
That is before
You
you
die.
found out that you had cancer.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. So
Because
don't wait
once-
till you get diagnosed with cancer. Do it now. Do it now. So once you have a plan like that and you are diagnosed, whether it's a year after, 2 years after, that plan, that policy kicks in to pay you all those values. You
Okay.
even for surgeries at the hospital, it helps to supplement that which you already have maybe under SFV. But it is a plan that you yourself are funding to be able to get some of those coverages. There's so much available
Yeah,
that we could cover right now.
and so little time. Basically,
Time is
I'm out
up.
of time. But let me say, Sherma, I'll give you the opportunity for this to wrap it up by extending the invitation and exactly letting them know where it would be held. I think we have given enough information regarding the importance of for
Right.
those who can afford it. Because
No.
if you can't,
Even if you, it's not just for those who can afford it. We are extending the invitation again to the general public on June 11th at 5:30 p.m. at the University of St. Maarten. The information, we need to remember that knowledge is free. The information is free. It's not if you can afford it. You never know if you can unless you there, you ask the right questions and you sit and just have some kind of conversation, then
Yeah.
we know what your needs are. I mean, insurance can be as much as 30 guilders or $30 a month
My bad.
just to put something in place.
I shouldn't limit it to those who can afford.
Yeah.
Because you're also saying that people can
Yes.
make priorities.
You exactly. You
and
prioritize and see.
don't live above your means
Exactly.
and find room to do
Where
that
you
which is
can
important.
do that which is important, especially as you have a
Okay.
family. So that's not being able to go to the funeral home or pay a death claim. I think for the families is the hardest part of living and dying at the same time. What makes my job happy is that to be able to call on somebody and say, hey, how are you doing? I heard your mom passed. My condolences. However, she had a life insurance with us and I need you to come in and bring the policy because you were the beneficiary.
Oh, okay.
The sigh of relief
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the other end of the phone is what gives you joy. And
that-
that's the
that
most
is another good
important
point
part
about
of
yeah.
insurance
Okay.
for
Yes.
me.
Yes. So not the negatives, huh?
Yeah.
So we're looking out to see you too, Wendell. Yes. But we just want to say thank you. Thank you for
I'm
having
80
us.
years old. You still want to see me?
Right on. You don't look 80.
I don't have to look 80. But that don't mean I'm
That's
not
true.
80.
That is true.
In any case, I want to thank all my listeners. Hope you benefited some. The invitation is extended to all. There is no cost attached here. Apparently not, because you would have heard it already. But the sessions will be held at the University of St. Maarten on June 11th, 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
5:30.
5:30 in the
5:30.
afternoon.
And we,
And get all the information you need to get about our insurance, or you can make adjustment with your income that you think was small and find room to be at least insured in the event that anything happened and life would be easier for you, those who are left behind. All right. Thank you so much, Barbara.
thank you too.
Thank you for
Thank
you,
having
Sherma.
us. Thank you.
It's been a while.
I know.
Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much, folks, for joining me on Viewpoint for today. I'll be back again tomorrow at 12. So let me extend an invitation now for you to join me then. In the meantime, take care. Over to the newsroom we go. Goodbye.